Good morning and welcome to the fourth day of our X Factor sew along. Today we'll be adding the back band and we'll also be adding the neckband. So for this pattern you have two options. You can do a crew neckline, which sits around the collarbone, and it's a regular neckline. You sew a circle, quarter the points, and attach it. You can do that by reviewing the video linked in the pattern or our previous sew-alongs. I believe it might be even in our last sew-along that I showed you how to do a scoop neckline, which is basically the same principle as the crew neckline. So for my option I'm doing a V-neck, and this time the V-neck is done a little different than the other times. And it's actually a more simple way to do a V-neck band, more sporty way too. So I took my V-neck band and I pressed it wrong sides together lengthwise. So now I'm just going to fold at a 90-degree angle and press together the front. Let me add one little pin so it stays in place. And I will show you how easy it is to do a V-neck in this style. So I folded and pressed, and I have the V-neck already created. I pinned it in place. So now I'm going to sew a little basting stitch along the edge just to hold it in place, because it's easier when I sew down the neckline if it stays in place like this. I'm doing this with about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. This will be enclosed in the regular when I attach, so I don't care if it's a white thread, it's not going to be seen. So this is how I've sewn the neckband together. Make sure that nothing is twisted, everything is laying nice. Beautiful. Alright, so now you want to take your front bodice and we're going to do what we call a stay stitch. So on the V front I'm going to sew about 1.5 inches one way and then another 1.5 inches this way with almost a 1/2 inch seam allowance, like a scant 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm doing this with a 3 millimeter length stitch. Pivot where the center seam is. So this is what it will look like, the stay stitch. So now you want to take your neckband. I'm going to start attaching it with my sewing machine, but then we're going to be moving to the serger because I find it to be way easier. So with the right sides together, I'm placing my neckband so the little V point here sticks out a little bit. Let me see if I can show you a good close-up. So you see the little V here, it sticks out a little bit. So let me put a clip there. And now, working from the right side of the shirt, I'm basically matching the raw edges on each side. And I'm going to be stitching with my sewing machine, about 1.5 inches on each side. So this is how it will look like from the inside. Let's go ahead and do that stitch. Keeping the raw edges aligned. And this time I'm going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance without stretching the fabric. And pivot where the point is. Make sure that nothing is caught in the fabric. Everything is fixable with a seam ripper, but double check so maybe we can avoid that adventure. Make sure everything lays nice and flat. And now you can check if you're happy with the way it looks. You're good to move to your serger. If not, you can always redo it. Let's see. And I will remove this this white stitching. But it looks pretty good. The point matches the center. This is what I'm looking for mainly. That the V overlap here matches my center seam. And it does. I'm pretty happy with it. So this will stay. We're gonna move on now to the serger to continue adding the neckband. So we are at the serger now. I'm going to mark the center of my neckband, the center back. Then I'm going to mark the center back of my bodice. And I'm going to make sure that the neckband is not twisted and match these 2 points. Pin it in place. So your neckband should look like this with the arm, with the neck opening. So now you want to stretch just the neckband, not the shirt, to match the raw edges. I'm gonna add 1 more pin here. If you're more comfortable adding more than 1 pin, go ahead and do that, or more than 1 clip. Whatever it makes you more comfortable before sewing. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite end, matching the raw edges and stretching the neckband to fit. I'm putting another pin. So now you want to sew this down with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And for V necklines, I like to start at the V point, not in the back, because it finishes nicer. So I'm going to start on one end, mark the 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then stitch down all around, including where you did where you did your sewing machine stitch earlier. Stretch just the neckband as you go. Here I need to make sure that the shoulder seam goes in the same direction as where I sewed the sleeve. initial point. You can see there I have the stitch with the sewing machine. I'm gonna go over that and finish the V. So this is how it looks like from the inside. Give it a good press, and of course optionally you can top stitch it. Giving it a good press will remove any waviness. So this is how it looks like, and of course, like I said, you can top stitch with your cover stitch or twin needles or just a zigzag stitch. Last step for today would be to add your back piece, back band. So for that, all you have to do is take your front and overlap it this way only one time. Lay your fabric down, and with the right sides together, match your back piece. I've pressed it lengthwise, and you want to match this right sides together. I'll put up a few clips so I'll show you how it looks like. I tend to not use clips when I do bands, but I want to pin it in place to show you how it will look like before I sew it. And that is the last step for today. So this is one. Make sure that your back band is not twisted. Rachel, who's part of our blog team, made a very nice blog about how to make this band for the crop top to be like a tie on the back. Very cute. You should check it out. Alright, so this is how it looks like. The front is overlapped one time, and these are right sides together, pinned at the ends. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch my the sides with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. When you finish these steps, as always, snap a picture of your progress and post it in the day 4 photo check-in of the Sew Along album in the Sew Along group on Facebook. And this is it for today. Go ahead and post the picture, and I'll see you back here tomorrow when we'll be prepping the skirt. If you're not adding the skirt and you're doing just the crop top, tomorrow you basically have a catch-up day, because if you're not doing the skirt, none of the steps that we're sewing tomorrow will be applying to you. So I'll see you back the day after tomorrow to finish the project. But if not, I'll see you tomorrow and we'll be creating the skirt. Talk to you soon. Bye.